It was December 4th, 2023. A cold fog drifted across the harbor in Portland, Maine, settling thick over the masts and decks of idle boats, muffling the creak of ropes against the docks. Tucked between weather-beaten trawlers and forgotten sailboats was a small cabin cruiser that most locals had stopped noticing months ago, its paint flaking, its windows dark. That morning, hidden inside its cramped quarters, lay one of America's most wanted fugitives, a man who had evaded justice for 3 long years, a mariner whose name was whispered in fishing towns up and down the coast. He thought the tides would forever shield him, that the sea would erase his tracks, but before the sun rose, federal agents surrounded the slip, and in minutes the hunt was over. The question is, how did a single man manage to vanish into the ocean's shadows for so long, and what chilling secrets were uncovered when he was finally brought down? What investigators discovered would horrify even seasoned agents, and it would confirm the worst fears of Daniel Reeves' family. To understand that, we must go back to October of 2019, to a stormy night that changed everything. Eli Martin, 42 years old, lifelong fisherman, son of the sea. To his neighbors, he was rugged, quiet, often generous with his catch. But he was also known for his temper, for disappearing for days, for a gaze that seemed fixed somewhere far beyond the horizon. That night, his deckhand, Daniel Reeves, 29, failed to return from a routine trip. Reeves was reliable, close with his family, not the type to walk away without a word. When police searched Eli's boat, they found streaks of blood near the stern, nets heavy with stones, and inconsistencies in Eli's story. He claimed Daniel left after a fight, but there was no trace of him on land. It was the beginning of a nightmare, and it was only the beginning. Weeks later, Eli vanished himself. His boat was found drifting, engine dead, no sign of the captain. At first, people thought he had drowned, swallowed by the very waters he called home. But then came the whispers. Sightings of a man with Eli's face working under false names at small marinas, buying fuel with cash, sleeping on boats that weren't his. Each time investigators closed in, he slipped away like mist at dawn. For the families of the missing, IT was torture, a ghost at sea taunting them with half-truths and shadows. What they didn't know was that this ghost was watching them just as closely as they were chasing him. For years, law enforcement struggled. Eli knew the coast better than anyone. He used the tides as his ally, the fishing docks as cover. He traded labor for food, kept to the edges of communities where strangers were common. But even the cleverest fugitive makes mistakes. In 2022, in New Bedford, Massachusetts, a bottle left behind at a dockside bar held DNA that matched Eli Martin. Suddenly, the drowned captain was alive, and the hunt reignited. Investigators traced his movements, piecing together a pattern of stops, never staying more than a few nights, always just ahead of pursuit. Then, another breakthrough, a storage unit inland, rented under an alias. Inside were forged IDs, bundles of cash, survival gear, and chillingly, the wallet of Daniel Reeves. Proof that Eli hadn't just run. He had carried souvenirs of the man presumed lost to the sea. But investigators were about to uncover something even darker. Experts began to weigh in. A retired FBI profiler explained that Eli's behavior was classic of fugitives who believed themselves untouchable. He relied on the myth of the sea's vastness, convinced that the tides washed away evidence, that harbors offered anonymity. But every move, every dock, every whispered deal left a trace, and slowly, painstakingly, investigators gathered them until a net was ready to be cast. The question was, when they finally pulled that net tight, what exactly would they find inside? December 4th, 2023, just before dawn. Federal agents staged quietly at Portland's marina, watching the fog swallow the waterline. Eli had been returning to the same slip for weeks, confident he was invisible. At 4:32 a.m., the operation began. The dock groaned under the weight of tactical boots. In seconds, they were aboard his cruiser. Inside, they found him asleep, a loaded revolver under his pillow, charts spread on the table, escape route scribbled in ink. He didn't fight. After 3 years of running, the sea captain who once mocked justice now stood silent, wrist bound, eyes downcast. But the arrest was only the surface. The real horror lay hidden below deck. A metal lockbox, concealed beneath a loose floorboard, held jewelry. Personal effect investigators believe belonged to other missing men, other drifters who had worked alongside Eli. The question was no longer whether he killed Daniel Reeves, but whether Daniel was the only one. Families who had wondered for years about their vanished loved ones faced the possibility that the ocean had concealed more than one crime. And this discovery turned a single case into the shadow of something much larger. For Daniel's family, the news brought a mix of sorrow and relief. His sister told reporters, "We always knew he didn't just leave. We always knew Eli had something to do with it. At least now there's justice." In the small town Eli once called home, people struggled with betrayal. A man they had bought fish from, laughed with at the docks, had lived a double life, hiding behind the salt air and fog. It left scars, distrust, and the haunting knowledge that danger had floated quietly among them for years. And for every answered question, new ones began to surface. The case revealed deep flaws in how fugitives exploit coastal towns, where transit workers are common, and suspicion fades quickly. Communication between agencies failed, sightings were delayed, opportunities were lost. An expert warned, ports and fishing towns are perfect for ghosts. They welcome strangers. They expect drifters. And that's exactly what Eli used to his advantage. It was a chilling reminder that the cracks in the system can become hiding places for predators. And if one man could vanish this way, who else might be slipping past unnoticed right now? Justice finally caught up with Eli Martin, but the sea still hides many more like him. Do you think it came too late for Daniel Reeves? Let me know in the comments. If you believe every victim deserves a voice, hit like, subscribe, share this video, and join us at Crime Code Breakers, because together we make sure the truth can never stay buried.